Yeah, like I remember when I first saw the trailers for the Benedict Cumberbatch character, right? When he was going to be the villain in the story. I was hoping it was going to be that the God, I want to say his name was Gary Lockhart, but I don't remember if that's actually right. I think I need to look that up. So I
No, I
thought they
think
were
that,
going to
yeah, I think
do
that's right. Or Lockwood.
Lockwood. That's what it was. There you go. And I thought they were going to do that story. So I was like so excited. I remember going into the theater like pumped up about that. I was like, heck yeah, like now we're going to get into some good, good territory. And then of course when it's revealed that oh, he's Khan, I was like, come on. Like I mean I definitely did groan in the theater. Yeah, two things George Lucas is really good at: action and visuals, right? Like spectacle.
Yeah.
Not so good at the dialogue or the actual like story and how it fits together. Although he's great at ideas, but he really needed some refinement with like a screenwriter and stuff like that. But so yeah, I would definitely agree with that. But I grew up during that era, so I was like about 10 or so when I was starting to really get into movies, like watching them, like really wanting to sit down and like watch and kind of figure out like, okay, what are they doing, story wise, acting wise, camera wise, lighting, visual effects, all kinds of stuff, right? And from there sort of figuring out, like, they were very formative for me in terms of like making me want to be a filmmaker. But then it was 1999 and I see that movie in a theater. Of course, like my mom got tickets. She was waiting in line like what, 5 months, I think. It was before, right, online ticket sales and all that kind of stuff. Um, and we go and I'm in the theater and I'm just blown away from like frame one, man. Just the
Oh,
music, the sound, the visuals, like it's just like wafting over me, and I'm on the edge of my seat the whole time. I'm just loving every moment of it. And it was at that moment I remember, like the last, like when it goes to the credits of that first viewing, I was like, this is what I want to do. Like I want to do this, right? Like and so from that moment
so
I was
that was a
that
very
was great. Yeah, and I know it's kind of like I remember being so embarrassed to say that to people when I was younger, because I remember, especially at this time, I mean, there was so much backlash, right, from the for the prequels. I would have to sort of grin and bear it when people were like, "Yeah, they suck," right? And I'm like, "Uh huh, yeah, yeah, yeah." Meanwhile, in the back of my head, I'm like, "No, I really loved it," um, but yeah, now I've gotten, I see, the flaws and stuff, but I think that's what makes me love them even more. I think if you love something, um, you're of course going to see all the flaws. I've seen them so many times now that like it's because I love them that I can say these things and be like nitpicky and be like, oh, if they had just done this or if they had done that.
yeah. I think as far as the movies goes, yeah. To me, there's a
Yeah,
distinction between what's been on television versus what's been in movies.
right.
I mean, again, growing up and seeing again Outer Limits, and then immediately after seeing Star Trek, you just never seen anything like that before.
Right.
And then a common thing occurred. They had Lost in Space, which the first episode they played it straight, pretty much
Yeah.
straight. And then the second episode, pretty much pretty straight. By the third episode, you know, Dr. Smith was,
Doctor.
when
Right.
he
Right.
started
Right.
pulling out all the weird monsters and all these bizarre plots. And it was just, even as a kid, I was going, this is stupid.
It's a little too much, right?
What happened? What happened? They
Yeah.
started off so well, you know. But that happened. That happened again with a lot of things. Voyage to the Bottom of the Sea. When that started, that was like, they started off, more with a more mature take on it, and then pretty soon, it was the latest guy in a rubber suit underwater with the 12-foot, sea view model,
Right.
electrocuted,
Yeah.
and it just, they just ran out of good ideas or something.
Or
And
something.
then
Yeah.
that happened with all those Irwin Allens, Land of the Lost, Time Tunnel,
Right.
all those, they all started off pretty, pretty decent, but then what I consider the best science fiction series I've ever seen, and that was the reboot of Battlestar Galactica.
Mm.
You know, I mean,
Yeah.
that was well written for, all 4 seasons. There were a few filler episodes here and there, obviously, because again, they had so many to fit, but the consistent quality of the writing in that, so it can be done.
Yeah.
So I just wonder if like the show's creator has a strong vision for what they want the series to be. And maybe this gets into, kind of things like how we would approach doing a short film or something like that.
Right.
If you don't really have that strong vision for, what you want to see on the other side, instead of like, oh, let's do a thing about, a time machine, a time tunnel, and we can have all kinds of adventures. They can go back and, try to kill Hitler, and they can, like, it's like the idea is a good one, but didn't have the vision for like, where are you going with this? Instead of just like, well, we'll just try all kinds of stuff. We'll throw a whole bunch of stuff at the wall and see if it becomes popular. I just, I have to believe that if it had been well written and had a good overarching plot, that perhaps some of those series would have lasted longer. Don't know.
Yeah. So Baron and I are in a group here in our area, an indie science fiction filmmaking group, and he's got a really great film out you can watch right now that I really like. And what's the name of it, Baron?
Are we referring to Imperfect Pairs?
Yes, we are. I really enjoyed it. And I have another film. It's not a science fiction film, but it's a short film called Peccadillo. You can find it on my channel. I'm sorry, I'm just doing a little bit of plugging here.
For sure.
But, so we really liked our stuff. And, there's a couple of other people in the group as well. And, we're trying to make these little short science fiction films. And he brings up a good point. You bring up a good point because of the fact that the nature of where we are right now, right? We're not these big multi-million-dollar companies. We don't have a lot of money. We have big ideas though, and we want to see these through, right? Like we want to see our visions kind of be on a screen and for people to enjoy and for people to watch over and over. But like, no, like the whole thing about having a plan, right, is
or again,
like
vision,
right,
a vision for and I think everybody does, like you clearly do. Your screenplay for Reverie, the short film that you want to do, it just has a nice it opens and then it takes you all the way through. And I don't know if it occurred to you that way for your own story, but I just thought you had a very strong vision, and it carried through the entire script. And I just think if I've seen a lot of I can't say I've seen a lot, but I've seen many would-be independent filmmakers. And as they're getting started, it's just like, hey, try anything, try everything. If you do something, hey, at least you did something, even if it wasn't exactly like what you wanted. I mean, even Imperfect Pairs, and we talked about this. I don't think Imperfect Pairs is it's not a particularly good science fiction story. It's, science fantasy. The science fiction element is, kind of a piece of basically what's just, kind of a drama with a little bit of thriller thrown in. So, I mean, I'm pretty happy with it for the most part, but I don't consider it a very good science fiction story. I think it's a decent story. I think it engages you okay, and doesn't mess around, just kind of gets in and, I talk about this all the time in our film group. It's like, get in, get out. Don't take up more time than you need.
For
Take
sure.
the time you need, but don't take up more time than you need.
In some ways, I kind of like science fiction, especially nowadays, that subverts in a way. Like maybe you're watching something that you don't realize is science fiction until you get to the end. And sometimes that can be fun too. And I felt that way when I was watching your movie. Like I was kind of like, where's this going? And then you get to the end and you're like, oh, okay.
And Twilight Zone, even though they had a lot of science fiction themed episodes, not a lot of those were particularly good science fiction. It was just kind of used as a device for a different kind of story. I'm being very nitpicky because I'm a huge science fiction fan, but I enjoy I totally enjoy a good science fantasy, good science space opera. Like you've seen The Expanse?
I've seen the beginnings of it. Yeah, I it's a show I want to get more into, but
I thought that was quite good. I think it kind of lost steam, but I thought the books kind of lost steam too. Although I didn't read them all.
Okay.
I read the first 3, and for me it was like okay, I don't know. I didn't feel compelled to keep reading, even though I enjoyed them just fine. I just didn't enjoy them so much. It was like, what? There could be 4 or 5 more of these things. They were starting to feel a little repetitive. But anyway.
So that
it's like one of the best depictions of actually colonizing the solar system that I've ever seen. I mean, it was really, really well handled.
So where do you see science fiction now? So if we're talking about Star Trek, Star Wars, and now the MCU souring science fiction, or at least cinematic science fiction, do you think, well, let's hear you say something first, but where do you think the state of science fiction is now in terms of considering all of what we've already talked about? Like, are we better? Are we worse? Like, where are we?
Well, to me, it's the jury's out to some degree, and it's not like this doesn't happen to other genres. They get kind of pigeonholed, and that kind of thing. They get stereotyped, and science fiction. Again, because I love it so much because of the ideas. I think I've told you this before. Of any book genre of storytelling I've ever read, only science fiction has given me thoughts that I never had before. Right? Oh man, I never. It's not, books give you experiences that you've never had before, and some thoughts like how would I react if this thing happened to me. But I'm talking about ideas, like ideas that you never considered before, and that mind-blowing aspect of the awe and mystery. So that's why I love it so much. So again, happens with other genres. They get kind of dumbed down. Because I think there's this perception that the public won't resonate with something that's too too hardcore or too serious, which I think Battlestar Galactica blew that out of the water. I mean, that series was heavily it wasn't like gigantically popular, but it was very well recognized. I think it won a couple of Emmys, for best drama. I think it was considered best drama, best dramatic TV.
I remember.
So it can be done. They showed that kind of mature thing can be done. The Expanse, did it for at least a few seasons. Like the 3-body problem.
I haven't
that
seen that.
first season, I thought that was pretty decent.
Okay.
And if they go through it, I might even like it. It might be tighter than the books. The original trilogy, really liked the first one. The second one, not quite as good, but it had a great ending. And the third one, which a lot of people adore, I just thought went off the rails.
Yeah.
As in certain respects, as far as characters, the characters were just, I just stopped identifying with the people involved in this fascinating premise that they set up. And the guy gets into some pretty mind-boggling, scientific and events, and so I can see the appeal, but for me, it became nothing but these mind-blowing ideas, and they kind of forgot the characters. So for me personally, I thought the third book in the trilogy was, a pretty big disappointment overall. But so I'm interesting to see. Maybe as a series, it'll be tighter. The Watchmen,
Yeah. Watchmen.
Miller's graphic novel.
Great. No.
You've seen the movie.
Yeah, but it's not Miller. I just had it too. It
Not
was
Frank Miller.
It was Moore, Alan Moore.
Oh, Alan Moore. I'm sorry. Yeah, I get Alan Moore and Frank Miller confused sometimes. Yeah, you're right.
Yeah.
So when the movie was coming out, I thought, I've never read this graphic novel, which is, kind of unusual because I was way into comics back when. So when the movie came out, I thought, I don't want to see the movie until I read the graphic novel. So I read the graphic novel, and I thought, man, it was really innovative in many ways, but I thought it went on and on and on. So by the end, it was just kind of, I don't know, it just kind of, it wasn't as special, because he just kept throwing all of these extra things in there, in my opinion. So when the movie came out, I thought, 2 hours, 10 minutes, whatever that was, I liked it better than the graphic novel. And I know that's, blasphemy for some comic book, fans, but that was just my experience of the story. Again, we're always getting back to storytelling.
Right. It's all about story, right? And if you liked that better, then, that's okay too.
Yeah, I mean, I'm curious if other people who read the original graphic novel, what their opinions on that were, and if they think the graphic novel, could use a little trimming down. Dude, I didn't I didn't want to tell you this until now, but my dumb ass didn't hit the live button. I thought I did until about 25 minutes in.
What? Oh boy.
Sorry, man. We're gonna have to do this one again. But from about 25 minutes on, it's been great.
So what I would recommend to you these days, and I think we talked about this before too, Severance is a really great science fiction show that I would say blew me away in terms of, if you're one of those people who thinks like, and I'm not saying you, Baron, but I'm saying whoever may be watching, like, oh yeah, science fiction is dead. There's nothing good coming out anymore. Well, get yourself an Apple Plus subscription, or at least a trial, whatever, and binge at least the first season, and you will be pleasantly surprised. It's one of those shows that the less you know about it before you go in, the better, because like, definitely don't read anything about it, because there's a lot of stuff out now, because season 2 just ended, so obviously that's going to be everywhere, and there's a lot of spoilers probably. But yeah, give that a shot. I would say, at least if you can maybe watch the first 3 episodes and still be like, oh, this is, and not, you know what I mean? Like, it's, I kind of challenge you to stop watching after that point. But if for some reason you're like, okay, this is not for me, then that's fair. But
I think this is a good question. What is the dumbest sci-fi movie and the coolest? Any ideas on that? The dumbest sci-fi movie. Boy,
dumbest
there's a lot to choose from.
Is there? Apparently not, because I'm having a hard time thinking of one right now. Actually, you know what? Okay.
I mean, here, I got one for you.
Okay, go ahead.
One for you.
Oh, all right, go.
Rebel Moon.
Okay.
Rebel Moon.
I haven't seen that one, but I still want to.
Yeah.
Is that bad? Is that bad?
I think you should watch it for just how, again, the production values are fantastic. It looks terrific.
Mm-hmm.
But the storytelling, it's so derivative, and it's so, I don't know. I used to love Zack Snyder. Now it's like, man, dude, what happened to you? He used to do very interesting things. I mean, The Watchmen, I thought was terrific. 300, obviously. A lot of people didn't like it, but I really like Sucker Punch. So anyway, that's one of the dumbest dumbest sci-fi movies I've seen recently.
Like you will lose brain cells watching this.
Yeah, yeah. Okay. And the coolest for me to complete that.
Well, let me go for my dumbest really quick. Okay. Well, this was so dumb I couldn't even finish it because I could sense myself just dying as I watched it. Independence Day Resurgence.
I didn't even see it.
Dumbest. Okay, if you're talking, oh my God, are you a fan of the first movie at all? And I understand the first one's pretty dumb.
I really liked it when I first saw it, and then I've seen it a couple times since then. And I thought, this is really, because it was so fun. It was one of those fun, tune your brain off for a little bit and just enjoy it. So I really enjoyed it, and the spectacle, and but yeah.
But yeah, so the sequel is just, it dials up the dumbness by 10%, man. It's insane. It's like from the opening scene, my wife and I were watching it, and it was just like we had to turn it off. And we rarely do that. We're like, let's give it a shot. And it was like 20 minutes in, we were like, we can't do this, because we actually love the first movie. So why they did this, and it was just
why they did it.
I mean, yeah, we know why. All right. Well, so what's your coolest?
Well, the most immediate recent one is Dune 2. Hands
Dune
down.
2? Okay.
Just even though everybody knows the story, so well, or at least most people do. I just thought it was really, really well done. And I am actually looking forward to see how he's going to do the second in the trilogy of the book trilogy. He's going to take Dune Messiah and weave that into a third, and do his own trilogy that doesn't do the last book. That's my understanding of it. And I think that could be another one of those ones where the movie could be better than the book. Like the books are Dune, the original book, outstanding. Like you can't touch it. The second Dune book, Dune Messiah, I didn't care for it. I just thought it was way too introspective, and it just, I don't know, kind of lost something. So I'm hoping that in the movie they'll do something that kind of wraps the entire story up a little better, as opposed to the original trilogy. So I'm very much looking forward to that. But that's for sure one of the coolest sci-fi movies I've seen recently. So anyway, thanks, Anthony, for being on this, and we'll talk about it if you want to do it in a couple weeks.
Yeah,
I would certainly love to have you back.
Well, it's been a lot of fun, Baron. I appreciate it. So
cool, man.
All right.
well, we'll be in touch, and this will be the end of this one. So goodbye, everybody. We'll see you in a couple weeks.